Wildlife experts found a bat colony in his home. Oh, Lord Jesus. Oh, God. Beware of bats that could be in your home. That is right. And by the way, if you watch a lot of HGTV like I do, and you see these old homes when they go to reconstruct them and stuff like that, that's not necessarily uncommon. Bats in your home could actually be dangerous. And we know this in part because there was a recent press release released by the Illinois Department of Health about a man who contracted rabies from a bat that was in his home. It's the first reported human case of rabies since 1954 in the state of Illinois. Can you believe that? And by the way, guys, this is a big deal. That's why we're talking about rabies, because it's something I learned about in med school and residency, but I don't think I've ever seen a case of it. And by the way, rabies can be extremely dangerous. It can be deadly. So let me tell you about the story about this guy. It's fascinating. This is according to the press release by the Illinois Department of Health. A resident in his 80s awakened to a bat on his neck. Y'all, if I ever... Oh my God, even the thought just literally scares me. And by the way, the press release goes on to mention that people usually know that they've been bitten by a bat, but bats have such small teeth that the bite mark may not be easy to see. Ooh, a bat on my neck, what? Anyway, this man in his 80s awoke to a bat on his neck. The bat was captured and tested positive for rabies. The person, the man in his 80s, was then advised that he needed to get treatment for what we call post-exposure prophylaxis to rabies, meaning, when it comes to wild animals, and we know that you've been bitten or whatever, we worry about things like rabies. So we can offer you a treatment to prevent you from coming down with rabies if that animal was a rabid animal. Well, this man declined the treatment. That's right. 1 month later, he started experiencing symptoms consistent with rabies. That means he had neck pain, he had headache, difficulty controlling his arms, he had a finger numbness, difficulty speaking. He actually eventually died. Guys, this is a big deal. And by the way, according to one of the directors at the Illinois Department of Public Health, rabies has the highest mortality rate of any disease. Guys, this is a big deal. Let me give you some information from the CDC. And by the way, rabies infection is rare. That's a good thing. But clearly it's important. And beware of the bats in your house. Oh, speaking of that, by the way, guys, according to CNN, according to CNN, wildlife experts found a bat colony in his home. Oh, Lord Jesus. Oh God. It's not that I'm just like, I'm like shivering at the thought of a bat colony or a bat on my neck. Anyway, a little bit of information about rabies. So what are the messages here? Messages are, number one, if you think that you have wild animals actually in your home or in ducks or things like that, it is actually important to get that taken care of and to get that looked into, okay? Not just for you, but the health of your family, okay? And we're not just talking about bats, we're talking about other animals and things. What you should know, and the other thing is, beware of wild animals and animals that have not had their vaccines and shots. This is why that stuff is important, because rabies, although rare, is still out there. By the way, rabies is a fatal but preventable viral disease. It's a virus. This is according to the CDC. It can spread to people and pets if they are bitten or scratched by a rabid animal. That means an animal that has rabies. And in the United States, we generally find rabies in wild animals like bats, okay, raccoons, skunks, foxes. However, in many other countries, actually dogs still carry rabies. And actually in many other places around the world, dog bites are probably the leading cause of rabies deaths. So interestingly enough, what happens is that rabies virus enters the central nervous system. That's where your nerves are. And that's why this gentleman had problems with headache, speech, moving his hands, numbness, tingling. Those are neurological symptoms. That's why he had problems with that. And if you don't receive appropriate care or treatment after being exposed to rabies, it can ultimately result in death, which of course we know about it. So the way rabies is prevented is this, okay? If you come in contact with a wild animal and you think you might have been bitten, something, anything, you concern, you go and you get checked out by the ER, number one. Understand that there is something that we call post-exposure prophylaxis. They can determine if you need it from being exposed potentially to rabies. Also, keep in mind that we need to vaccinate our pets. This is why vaccination is very important. We also need to stay away from wildlife. You know, there are some people who really love like finding raccoons and things like that out there. No, wildlife can be carrying rabies. So you've got to be, do not avoid wildlife, okay, for that reason and others. And like I said, any potential exposures, you want to make sure that you seek medical care in the form of the ER, so that you can see if you need treatment or anything like that. Guys, this is such a tragic story. But I hope that we all learn about this, not only about bats in our homes, quite seriously and sincerely, but also if you were to be exposed to rabies, and what to do about that, and also how rabies is transmitted, which is what we also talked about. Okay, guys. Here is actually, let's see here, the number of rabies deaths. This is according to CNN. Said the number of rabies deaths in the U.S. ranged from 30 to 50 per year in the 1940s, but it has dropped to 1 to 3 deaths per year, and that's the result of pet vaccination and what we call post-exposure treatment, which is the medication that you can get if you've been exposed. So that's really, really important. Please pass on this information. It's important for everyone to hear it. This is good common sense and good knowledge we all need to have. Guys, I'm Dr. Jen Caudle. If you've not subscribed to my channel and clicked the little bell for updates, please do. Guys, I'll see you soon.